Hi everyone, welcome to Crafty Yarn Owl with Darla. I'm Darla, and today we're going to be making this top. This top is the same design as this one, but this one is made with 2-weight yarn, and I made a little scarf to go with it, just a little fashion scarf. There will be a tutorial for the scarf later this week or maybe next week. You can make the top and the scarf, or you can just make the top and not the scarf, or just make the scarf and not the top. Alright, so the one that I'm wearing is made with 4-weight yarn, and I explain that in this video. I also have a video explaining what yarn this is and everything, so I will attach that below. So this is Roll With It Sparkle. And like I said, it's a 4-weight, and I'm just wearing a tank top under it, but this is how it looks. The neckline, you'll actually have a choice of necklines. This starts at the neckline, and we work in the round all the way down. We don't have to make sleeves, they just make themselves. The top grows out and grows longer as you make it. At a point, right about when you're right down to about here, you're going to pull the back and the front together and determine how wide you want the rest of the top, and you'll be working in the round. The neckline, because of the shape I made it, you're gonna have a choice when you get down to about this point what shape neckline you want, and you'll be turning the top to get the neckline that you desire. All right. So there'll be a neckline like this one actually goes off the shoulders a bit like this one does, and the other choice you'll have is one that goes more square, that doesn't have to go off your shoulders. Like I said, you work your way to about here, and then that's when you decide which neckline you want by turning your item. And then you pull the back and front together and then work around to make the body. All right, let's see the other one that I made. Now this is the other one that I made. I actually made this one first, and I used Eco Brights yarn, and it is considered a bulky 5. So this is what this one looks like. And because we're starting from the top and working our way down, you can make it as long as you want. And I'm just wearing a black tank top under this one. So you'll see pictures in this video where I wrote on them explaining what yarn I used for these two, and also the yarn I used for the gray one. I talk about this yarn in this video. So let's get started. All right, thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate you all. Don't forget to subscribe for more yarny goodness and more tutorials. I'll put a link below to the playlist of all of my tutorials. Thank you. For this tutorial, I used Red Heart Roll With It Sparkle. It's 97% acrylic, 3% other fibers, which would be the sparkle. 150 gram ball, 561 yards. It's a medium 4 weight. Recommended hook size is 5.5 millimeter. And I used a 6 millimeter because I wanted it to be a little breezier, a little looser, to wear on maybe a cool summer evening. This would be nice to wear to a little function because of the sparkles. The colorway is diamonds. And I used, this is 561 yards, I used almost the entire cake except for this little bit here. Now we're going to make a chain of 84. I'll meet you at the end of the chain. At the end of your chain, make sure you lay it down so that it's not twisted, and then you slip stitch it together. Now right where you slip stitched it, we're going to make a V-stitch. So we're going to chain 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1. And we're going to go into that same stitch and make a double crochet. Okay, now we're going to skip 2 chains and go into the next one with another V-stitch. So yarn over, make a double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip 2 stitches or 2 chains, go into the next one with a V-stitch, a double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, so far we have 3 V stitches, and we want to make a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to skip 2 chains and make another V stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, then we're going to skip 2 chains and then go into the next one. We're going to make 2 V stitches separated by a chain 2. So put a double crochet in there, chain 1, another double crochet, that's our first V stitch, and then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then put another V stitch in that same spot. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, like that. And then we're going to make our single V stitches again. And we are going to make 5. So we're going to skip 2 chains. In the 3rd chain, make a V stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, skip 2 chains, go into the 3rd one with a V stitch. And continue doing this until you have made 5 V stitches. 5 single V stitches, so that's 1 and 2. We need to make 3 more. I'll be right back. Now when you've completed your 5 V stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to skip 2 chains again, you're going to go into the next chain with a double V-stitch. So that's a V-stitch separated by a chain 2. And there's your first V-stitch, and separated by a chain 2. Chain 2, and then a V-stitch. Okay, now we're going to make 7 V-stitches, single V-stitches. So with a skipping chain, 2 chains in between each one. So skip those 2 chains, go into the next chain, and make a V-stitch, a single V-stitch. A double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. And again, skip 2 chains, go in the next one with a V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we are going to do this 7 times. Okay, so that's 2. So we have 5 more to go. I'll be right back. Now when you have your 7 V-stitches finished, we're going to skip 2 and we're going to do double V-stitch. So skip 2 chains, go into the next one with a V-stitch. And then a chain 2. And then another V-stitch in that same spot. Okay, then you're going to skip 2 and you're going to make 5 V-stitches separated by the 2 chains between each one. So skip 2 chains, go in the next chain and make a V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next 2 chains, go in the next one and make your V-stitch. So continue on with that until you have 5 V-stitches. There's 1, 2, we need to make 3 more. I'll be right back. Okay, we have our 5 V-stitches, and then we're going to make the double V-stitch. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we skip 2. And then we go into the 3rd one and make a V-stitch. And then chain 2 and then another V-stitch in that same spot. Sorry, it's just a little awkward with the camera. Okay, so then we skip 2 and then we put a V-stitch. Skip 2, put a V-stitch. We're going to make a total of 3 V-stitches. So skip 2, so we've done a 1 already. So make a V-stitch. And then, oh, pull out some more yarn and skip 2 chains. Okay, we're gonna have 2 at the end. Okay, skip 2 chains and then make a V-stitch in the 3rd one. It's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we're going to just slip stitch into the top of that first V-stitch we made with the chain 4. Just slip stitch into that top of it, and then slip stitch into the very center of that V-stitch. Okay, and you are finished your first round. Now what we're going to do is chain 4, 2, 3, 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and then make a double crochet right in the middle of that V-stitch. We're just making a V-stitch in the V-stitch. Okay, and then we're going to make a V-stitch into each of these V-stitches. So let's do that. So it's double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Did I chain 1 in between? Well, I did. It didn't look like it. Okay. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Keep doing that in every V-stitch until we get to our double V-stitch, and I'll show you what to do there. Okay, so we have a V-stitch in each of those. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when we get to this double V-stitch, we're going to put a V-stitch in that very first one. Okay, so in this V-stitch, these 2 V-stitches are separated by that chain 2. We're going to put 2 V-stitches in there, separated by a chain 2. All right, so make your first V-stitch. And chain 2. Sorry about that, the yarn was sneaking up on me. And then make another V-stitch right in that same spot, that chain 2 space. Okay, so we have that next V-stitch, which is part of this cluster, so we'll just make a V-stitch right in there. And this is how we're going to do every round up until a certain point, but I will show you when we get there. So next V-stitch, put a V-stitch in there. So continue on doing that, and what's going to happen is your top is going to grow outwards wide, and it's also going to grow long. All right, so put another V-stitch in the next V-stitch. So continue doing that, and I'll meet you when we've made a few rows. And this is what it's going to look like. Okay. And when you get to the end of row 2, and you have this chain 3 plus 1 here, just go into it around the top with a slip stitch, and then go right into the middle of your V-stitch with a slip stitch, and then chain 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, same as before, and go back in, make a double crochet, and that'll be your V-stitch, and then continue on making a V-stitch into every V-stitch. And then remember, when you get to this one here where you have the chain 2 and this little cluster of these 2 V-stitches, put 2 V-stitches in there separated by a chain 2, just in that spot there. And then I will see you after we've done a few rows. Okay, now I've done 9 rounds. Okay, you just go round and around, or actually around the rectangle, round and around and around. I did 9. This is with the 4-weight yarn, and now you have a choice of necklines. See, it's a rectangle. So when you fold your piece over like that, and this goes over your shoulders, this is a wider neckline because this is the rectangle shape. And you can take your top, your piece, and you could fold it the other way so that the neckline becomes more of a square. So it is your choice. I'm going to make mine the rectangle way so that it's wider, so that it's a little bit of a peekaboo shoulder. But you can certainly make it like this just by folding your garment differently. Right? Okay, so that is the square neckline. And then if you fold it the other way, that's why I made it the neckline in a rectangle, so it can be worn 2 different ways. All right, so this is the rectangular, it's wider. So it's going to show your shoulder more. We are going to do a border around the neck too, so it's going to be a really thin border, so it's going to just to tidy up the raw edges. All right, so like I said, when you build this top, it goes wider and it goes longer. So now these are my sleeves. I don't have to make sleeves. I don't have to add sleeves. So make your top to a certain point, and I'm actually going to put this on to show you. All right, we'll do that next. All right, I put this bright pink tank top on so you can see the design better. This is the rectangular way, so it's wider on my shoulders. It's going to show a little bit more of my shoulders. Okay, then I'm going to take it off, or actually I can just turn it around. And this is how it looks the square way. All right, so it's going to cover more of your shoulders, and like I said, there'll be a little trim around here just to tidy it all off. So I am going to make mine like this, leave mine like this. This is what I want. It's like a peekaboo shoulder. All right, so you get to a certain point, and what you want to do is you want to grab the back piece and the front piece, okay? And do that on the other side as well. And if you decide that is how wide you want your top to be, because we're going to start working around and around and around and around, all right? So I'm thinking this is good for me. If you continue working all the way around like you were doing, then it's going to get longer. The sleeves will be longer, the body will be longer, which will also make it wider. That's why it's for everyone. It should fit everyone. You just have to measure it to your body or to whoever you're making it for, or get their measurements. So yeah, I'm thinking this might be the right width for me right now. So if you've got the right length and width that you want, we'll start with the next part. Now when you've determined it's going to fit you the way you want it to, and you have it folded over, you go to your corner, and right in your very corner where your chain 2 is, put a stitch marker through there, grab the other side, put a stitch marker through there. Now just guide you to where you're going when you're crocheting round and around. And do the same on the other side, of course. Right in that chain 2 space. Okay, so now we have a slip stitch. I just want to move this a bit. Sorry about that. Now you have your slip stitch. Now you're just going to go around and around and around. All right, so we're going to continue on with V stitches. So we're going to chain 4, which counts as a double crochet chain 1. And then we're going to double crochet right back into that V stitch from the previous row. So there's your V stitch. You're going to put a V stitch in the next V stitch. And we're going to repeat this over and over for each round until you have the length of your top. Okay? I will show you what to do at the corner. All right, so I made my last V stitch into this V stitch before my stitch marker. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these 2 pieces together. So I'm going to wrap my yarn and then go into that V stitch where that stitch marker is, grab a loop, pull through, grab the yarn and pull through 2 stitches, and then I'm going to go to that next one where my stitch marker is, wrap the yarn, go through the space, pull up a loop, pull through 2 loops, and then pull through the last 3 loops on your hook. So that's connected the 2 pieces. And then when we come back around, we're going to make a V stitch right into the 2 stitches, right, or the 2 pieces of the yarn. The V, you know the V, looks like a V. We're going to go right through there to make a V stitch. All right, so then we're going to move on to the next V stitch and make a V stitch. And then we're going to continue going around. So when I come back to this point, I'll show you what I mean. Now we're at that point where we connected the back and the front together. I made a V stitch in this last V stitch here. And now we have this part where we connect the 2 together. Right in the very top one there, I'm just going to make a V stitch. Just like we did before. Like just a normal V stitch. And then we'll just go into the next V stitch that we made and make a V stitch. Continue on around and around and around. And I'll meet you when you get the length you desire, and or when I get the length I desire. You can remove that stitch marker now. We don't need it anymore. So let me just show you. That's just how it looks. Okay, now that you've made your top the length that you wanted, now this is the where your arm goes through. This opening may be a little too big for you, or you may want it like that. But I'm just going to sew mine up a little bit. Okay, so what I've done is I've marked it. I've already done the other side, but I've lined up my V stitches so that I'm skipping. Okay, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's see, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I've put my stitch marker in the 8th one from the top. And then what I'm going to do is just sew up this space. A little bit of the space here. So the way I do it is I just take a piece of yarn and I look at my V's and I go into the one that's the V that's closest to me. I mean the well, the yarn that's looks like a V. Go into the one that's closest to me, tie it, and then sew that in later. And it just gives it a nice clean edge, I think, on the other side. So, strand that's closest to me, and then the one that's the furthest away. You can do it any way you want to do it, of course. You want to pull it tight, but not too tight. Okay, keep doing that till you get to the end, and then just I always put a knot and then I sew the end in. So I'll be right back to show you what that looks like on the other side. Alright, so when I sew it, when I'm done sewing, I just make a knot in it, and then I'm gonna just weave this in. Just like this. In and out, kind of. And then I always go back the other way. And then cut it off, and then I'll show you. Ooh, these don't really need these huge scissors. Alright, so then this is what it looks like on the other side. You can see a couple little stitches there, but it's not a big deal. Alright, so then you turn your top back the right way out, and then we're going to make a little edging around the sleeves. I've already done the edging on this other sleeve, the neckline, and the bottom. So I'll show you how I did that on this other sleeve. I'll be right back. So starting from the underarm, just gonna do slip stitch, chain chain one, and then we're going to make a single crochet, a half double, and then a double. Okay, so I just started in this space. What I want to do is put one of those in all of the V stitches all the way around. So just go in the next V stitch, make a single crochet, half double, and a double. Next V stitch, single crochet, half double, and then a double, and just keep doing that all the way around. If you've done the other sleeve, or whichever sleeve you start with, count how many you made and make the same amount on the other sleeve. Okay, I'll be right back when that is done. And when you get to the end of your little border, just slip stitch it into that first single crochet there you made. Cut your yarn, and you are done. Oh, sew in your ends, and then you're done. Yes, there we go. So thank you so much for watching. There is going to be another little tutorial on the little scarf that you saw in the thumbnail. A little scarf that goes with it, just as a fashion scarf. So be on the lookout for that one. All right, thank you everyone for watching and subscribing and liking and sharing and all the good stuff. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.